Hey everybody, Sam Bourquin and TJ Downing here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club as we continue along this great season of speakers. Joe Bogdan from Canton City Schools is coming up a little bit later on. We'll have that full video up for you on the Stark Media YouTube channel. Make sure to check us out on all the platforms of Stark Media, at Stark Media Team, the key there, on Instagram, on Twitter. Check us out on the Stark Media Facebook page, and of course the Stark Media YouTube channel. Sammy B, TJ D with you. And after a nice 52-degree day yesterday, we're back to winter here on this early February afternoon at Tozzis on 12. All right, lots to get to here today before we check in with Joe Bogdan. I hope he'll have some spicy things for us as far as what's going on with Canton City Schools and Canton McKinley and possible. I'll tell you this. We'll try to squeeze a little nugget or two out of him today.
Spicy. That's hot sauce right there.
See what he's got. Sometimes if you go about it the right way with Joe B, you maybe he'll at least give us a little carrot. So we'll see, because I know there's a lot of stuff going on behind the curtain, good and interesting, and maybe even some surprising stuff. So we'll talk to Joe Bogdan about all that coming up. Lots of stuff to get to. The high school boys tournament draw was yesterday. We're going to touch on that. Obviously, we're getting down the home stretch here, big fella, with high school basketball. Boys drawings yesterday. Girls was last Sunday. You have been doing a tremendous job covering wrestling and our great team there. Swimming and diving is kind of coming down the home stretch, so we'll touch on that a little bit. Super Bowl hype week begins in earnest today. Philly and KC will battle this Sunday out in Glendale, Arizona. We'll touch on that. We'll touch on the Cavs. Our local college basketball teams are really doing well. Mount Union, last I checked, number 5 in the country. Walsh, I believe, is on top of the GMAC in their division or in second. I'm not sure what JY's team did over the weekend. Akron-Kent played a prime time 9 o'clocker on Friday night up at Akron. The Zips pulled that out. Also want to kind of get into, since it's legal now, I want to get into the gambling side of things here a little bit, as we are, when we started, January 1st, it was legal, and here we are the first week in February. I kind of want to get the pulse a little bit from you, and we'll discuss how that has gone here in the state of Ohio. I shared a figure with you guys the other day on our group text. Ohio, $8 billion in monies for sports wagering, 4th in the country. And they've only been at it. They've only been at it for about 5 weeks. You think that people weren't thirsting for sports betting legally here in the state of Ohio and Northeast Ohio? Let's face facts, folks. You know, I'm gonna draw a little parallel here. Might make you a little squeamish, but gambling has been going on since God.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here.
You think they gambled on David and Goliath?
Sure they did. Sure they did. The Pharaoh and the gold coins and the all that stuff that was going on back.
Whoever bet on David, man, I'll tell you what, they walked away. They had the palace after that one.
That was probably fixed too back then, just like the. Oh, I didn't say that. But look, it's been going on forever. Prostitution has been going on forever. It's been going on since Adam and Eve. Come on, pull your head out of the sand. It's here to stay. Get used to it. It's not taboo anymore. Deal with it. And it's okay. It really is. Done responsibly, it's okay. I know there's some outliers out there that, their lives crumble out of control and things happen. But for the most part, it's okay. It really is, especially now that it's being looked at a lot closer now. And so I want to get into that and get your thoughts on some stuff there. So, first of all, good. Let's start with high school basketball and the tournament drawings.
He had to get his hair and makeup done.
Big Mike. Oh, how you doing, Shotter?
Good to see you, Mike.
So, let's get into that. We have, 2 weeks left? High school basketball regular season. I think most teams have like 3 or 4 games. Some have some makeups. They may get those in. They may not. So, the drawings come out yesterday. We're trying to still figure out those a little bit, who's on top of the draw and who's on the bottom, who's the home team. But the one thing I noticed, and I was talking to Lee about this on Friday, we were doing the green game, on 99.7 and iHeart. I don't see the Canton Memorial Civic Center, and I don't see the Canton Memorial Fieldhouse anywhere as far as district play, or even in some senses regional play. Those are two iconic venues that we've had here in Northeast Ohio for decades. Do we know what is that a for sure thing? Is the rent come into play? It's too high for what is going on there? Do we have any idea? Because I would love to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, I think there's a little piece of that. You talk about just turning the lights on, operating the facility, and even last year, finding out who was going to operate that facility and operate all of the media, coordinate everything. And it seemed to be that there weren't a whole lot of people that were stepping up wanting to do it. And when we got down there, it seemed it was.
You experienced that firsthand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At said place.
Yes, and there was people that were running it down there that did a great job, but they didn't really want to be there. This was something that they felt maybe should be run by somebody else. There should be a different director or operator in place. So maybe that's the thing. When you talk about having volunteers come out to do that stuff on the weekends, late into the evening, you're missing family time. A lot of different factors come into play. But, you even look back to, them pulling the Canton Charge out of there. And that was that was a thing that I think really hurt the Civic Center. That was a big deal. You were going down to a lot of those games, the draw of the community coming down there. And unfortunately, I think there's going to need to be a revitalization down there and figure out what you're going to be able to do
I'll tell you what they
differently
need
to draw people in.
I'll tell you what they need down there is a new Civic Center.
Yeah.
and it doesn't necessarily have to be where that one is, if you catch my drift.
Yep.
So that is very interesting. We got a note here today. Alliance, Twinsburg, and Euclid for the Northeast are the sites for Division I. Now, when you start talking about Division II, you always thought about, hey, the field house. You think about the Civic Center and the field house for regional play, even with some of the Division IIIs and IVs, because there's 4 divisions in high school basketball. So I'm a little perplexed here at this. And look, I'm not taking anything away from Euclid, Twinsburg, and Alliance. Great hosts. Not quite the facilities of the Civic Center or the field house, but those folks do a great job. Things are changing now, man. I mean, look at high school basketball now. Bye-bye Columbus, hello Dayton.
Yep.
Looks like they're going to be there for a long, long time. Baseball, bye-bye Columbus. I think it is going to stay in Akron for quite a while. Football, we hope, stays here in Canton as it rightly should. But you see some of the other sports now moving around. I mean, I think we've got a lockhold up here on 3 things: football, baseball, and swimming and diving.
Yep.
I think we've got those locked. But wrestling, seems to have been moving around a little bit. I think they may have found a home. Volleyball is down at Dayton at the Nutter Center. Field hockey is in Columbus. Track and field is in Columbus. But things are changing. I mean, they are. I want to talk to Joe about that if we're able to grab him here after the show or after the presentation. But they're changing. The landscape is changing. It's not the way it used to be anymore. The 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and money is at the root of some of that. I think there's been a lot of change in power down in Columbus with the different commissioners coming in and assistant commissioners and things. A lot of ADs have changed. People that are at the top of the board of controls in the different districts have changed. We're in a transition right now.
Yeah, and I don't think wrestling's ever going to leave the Schott now, because just thinking about
all
of those mats, being able to squeeze all of that into one facility, and now you're going to have girls being sanctioned down there, so they're going to be on mat 4 inside of the Schott. So you've got all these different mats, all these different talents, these wrestlers, girls and boys coming from all over the state. I think it stays there. When you look at the Nat over here across the street from us, or right down the street from us, the beautiful facility, I believe it was over $1.5 million, that renovation they did there. And again, I tell people this all the time. First time I ever experienced it was last year, going to the state championships inside of there. And I have rarely seen an atmosphere, an environment competitively like that. I mean, it was intense, and I loved it. And I will be back there again this year. The one thing for me it seems it's good for us with radio and streaming. You're going to get people that are not going to drive to Twinsburg to go and watch their local team from down here.
Especially during the week.
Yeah, so it makes it tough for people on the travel. You're getting off work at 5, 6 o'clock, if that's your schedule, and now you're saying, hey, let's go drive an hour up to Twinsburg to be able to be there for the game, when we can just stay home and listen to Sammy B and Shooter on the radio.
Well, here's the thing. And, we have been spoiled down here because of our facilities. People love to come to play at the field house. They love to play at the Civic Center. And you could do, I'm going back to when you played doubleheaders almost every night for about the first 6 or 7 days of the tournament. And so there was action every night at both buildings. And then they would branch off once you got the regionals, and you'd play one night, wait another night. Some are going back to doubleheaders now, which is nice. It's good for the fan. Now, I don't know if that's going to raise the ticket prices. I'm sure it will. But things have changed so much now, and you've gone away from the, I guess we'll call it the bubble with the super districts now, which I look at a couple of different ways. Number one, I always hated when two really, really good teams had to play each other in a first or second round game.
Yeah.
That just, what was the point of you fighting your ass off all season long to only draw a blind pill out of a bottle? Oh, we're playing so-and-so. I thought that was heinous. So we were so archaic in that. Finally got away from doing that. So now we're more or less doing the super district. And now you're going to travel a little bit. Now, you may have an easier road as far as your opponents, pun intended, but the road is a lot longer as far as the travel is concerned. You may be making 2 to 3 trips an hour and a half away. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. But I guess I would look at it, if I know I got a real good shot on my tournament trail to get where I want to go, and I think in my mind I know I can handle teams A, B, C, and D before I get to regionals, I'm going to take that route, even though I may have to travel, even though I may not have the fan base that I would have if I was a little closer to home. I'm probably going to go that route. That's why you saw some years ago the Division I state championship in Columbus. You had Moeller versus X for a Division I championship. You never would have saw that 15, 20 years ago. Somebody would have knocked the other team out in the districts, which made the districts more compelling. So I don't know if that takes away from this now. I don't think we're going to see any more of the runs we had back here when you could count on a McKinley versus Jackson for a district title for maybe 3 out of 5 years. Or, McKinley Massillon played in some district championship games for a couple of years. Jackson Perry, Perry Glen Oak had some great games. Chip Hare going up against, not Chip Hare, but Costa going up against the young man from Perry, the 2 7-footers. Yeah, Chip. So those days are probably
Kenny Freeze.
Kenny Freeze.
Yeah.
What about Chip Hare? Chip was a great player too. But so you're not going to get those anymore because now you're going to be traveling, you're going to be playing some different teams, and you're going to see a lot more blowouts.
Yeah.
In the first 2 games because the home team with the higher seed gets to host. And folks, we've seen the last 2 years a couple of 101 to 26 games in the first round. Now we do have that running clock in the second half after the 35-point margin, but still it gets to be a little grimy there. But things are definitely changed. They're different, and I'm anxious to see wherever these games are being hosted, whatever nights they're being hosted, what are the crowds going to be like? How are the teams going to play after an hour and 10-minute bus ride? How are they going to perform in practice the next day when they got home at midnight and they got a game another night, back on the road again and coming back home? I'm anxious to see how this all turns out.
Still trying to handle your course load as well. We're coming up towards the end of whatever I believe most people are still on semesters or that 9-week period where you got to kind of tighten up some things for final projects inside of that class or that winter semester. I believe the last district final game that I called at the Civic Center was between McKinley and Jackson a few years back. But before we get to the tournament, I'm interested to see how this week shakes out with the Federal League. We know that the EBC has been settled. You've got the Carrollton Warriors and the Alliance Aviators. They've shared the EBC title in boys basketball. We know that in girls basketball inside of the Federal League, the Green Bulldogs and the McKinley Bulldogs, they are going to share the title.
Yeah.
But you've got some matchups coming up this week. On Friday, Green is going to have to go to Glen-Oak. They sit at the top of the Federal League, tied with Jackson, a three-way tie. Jackson is going to have to go over to the Fieldhouse and take on McKinley Friday night.
Yeah.
Boy, Friday night's going to be pretty hot, isn't it?
That's going to be, I mean, everything will depend on that night. After 2 hours Friday night, you're going to know.
Yeah.
You're going to know everything you need to know, because the following night or the following games, there's a couple for each side. They're non-conference games, and then you get ready for the tournament. So, yeah, this is, I mean, I've been in the camp all year. I kind of cheated my way through it, but I had my top three. I had Jackson, I had Green, and I had Glen-Oak. Even with a couple of losses, McKinley has shown me, maybe, just maybe, Coach Vlock has found something there, and they could possibly break some teams' hearts along the way. All depends on
health,
who shows up that night, and how they're shooting the basketball. Because McKinley, and you've seen them, they have transitioned, I think, into a team that says, you know what, we're not interested in running up and down the floor with you tonight. We're going to play half court, and they can. They can play half court basketball. They don't have to score 80. They can play good half court. They can play good half court defense. They can still pressure you when they have to. Green, I mean, all they do is graduate 3, 4, 5 starters. Guys going off to Walsh, guys going off to Ashland. And Mark Kinsley finds a way to bring a couple of kids up that were freshmen a year ago, get them some seasoning. Now they're sophomores, now they're juniors, a couple seniors. I think Mark is one of the best coaches in the state of Ohio, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. I'll fight you on that one. And then there's Jackson and Glen-Oak. I've seen Jackson a lot. I've seen Glen-Oak a lot, both home and away. I think if those two teams played 10 times, might be 5-5, depending on where they played the game. This year, Jackson comes to Glen-Oak, blows them out. Glen-Oak goes over to Jackson, takes them out. So I guess what I'm saying is I have no idea what the hell is going to happen this weekend. I think they're going to be two great games. Hopefully there'll be packed houses, and there'll be a little pre-tournament drama to get our juices flowing a little bit for the postseason.
For me as a Glen-Oak grad, you know, unfortunately there's been a lot of times where when we are in the hunt or in the thick of things and we have to go on the road somewhere to perform and try and win, we usually don't get it done a whole lot of times.
You did last week.
And we did last week. That was impressive to me. And you're doing it not only with Ja'Cory Lipkins, but a bunch of young sophomores who are going to be there for a while now. And between Reese and Broom and these guys, I mean, they're stepping up and doing some really good things. But for Jackson, between Monterubio and Wolbert, I mean, these are guys that can take over the game too. However it shakes out, on Friday night, everybody inside of the Golden Eagles gymnasium is going to be pulling for McKinley to be able to beat Jackson. If they do that, the winner coming out of that gym on Friday at Glen-Oak is going to be your Federal League champ. So that's a big deal. Now, as you mentioned, can Andy and his squad get it done? Can they stay healthy? Can Trayshawn Foster and Graham and Jacius Moody, can these guys get it done? Because as you said, there's nights where they look really good. Sometimes they don't show up. So what team shows up there for the McKinley Bulldogs?
And McClellan, too. Throw McClellan in there.
Throw Dante in there. What a talent he is. I mean, there's some players on that team. He could easily take out Jackson on Friday night.
I almost think, and I don't know if Coach Andy would agree, I almost think, let's circle back and say this was like the 10th game of the year.
Yeah.
I think if you give McKinley another 7 to 8 game situation nights where they, you know how teams just get better the more games they play?
Yep.
I think if this was like a 30-game regular season, McKinley might be on fire by the end of the regular season. They just seem to, I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you what, this year it may have been. They had a lot of football players. Normally not the case at McKinley. So a lot of those guys had to get their basketball legs. Maybe it took them a little longer than normal. But I truly think if McKinley was playing a 30-game schedule this year, they might be the beast by the 30th game. But there's going to be some great games coming up this weekend. Tune in, 99.7 FM, free iHeartRadio app, Stark Media YouTube channel. You know what I wish they would do Friday? And I know I'm going out of my mind here. I wish they would stagger the start times.
Yes.
You know how they do it big time on TV? I wish they would. I wish we would start, say, the Glen Oak Jackson. No. We would start the Glen Oak Green game at 6:30, and then start the McKinley Jackson game at 7:30.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that would be fantastic. Because you could monitor both, and then you know who wins the first game, and now you're watching the second game, and you're pulling for Team A or Team B, whoever you need to help you out. I think that would be awesome. I'm going to take that to the commissioner today. Terry, let's go. Let's throw everybody's schedule out of whack, all the officials, all the administrators. Let's stagger the start times
it's
and make it
Monday.
a made-for-radio event. What do you say?
It's only Monday. We can still make it happen.
We got plenty of time. I think that would be cool. All right, speaking of time, we're going to take some time. We'll step back. We'll come back with more here on the Stark Media YouTube channel. Sam Bourquin, TJ Don, and getting ready for another big day at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Stay with us. All right, we continue along here at Tozzis on 12th. We're getting ready. I should be looking at this camera. I haven't done it the whole time I was here. Joe Bogdan from Canton City Schools, Canton McKinley, is going to be taking to the podium, and we're going to hear what Joe has to say. I'm sure there'll be some cool questions on the Q&A, and then we'll try to get Joe over here in our little chair of death, and we'll talk to him here after his presentation up at the podium today. All right, Super Bowl coming up. What is it, 57? My God, 57.
Flying by.
Are you kidding me? 57 is coming up in Glendale, Arizona, Sunday. The Chiefs and the Eagles. Philly, as of right now, which is 11:31 Eastern Time, is a 1.5-point favorite in that game. I was pulling for Cincinnati. I wanted them to get back. I love watching Joe Burrow play. But I think we do have the best two teams in the National Football League. I'm hoping everybody is close to 100% healthy. Mahomes has got the ankle issue. Everybody else is bumped and bruised. You got the Kelsey Bowl angle. You got a lot of stuff going on. You probably have a lot of folks out there that are hoping for a wardrobe malfunction at halftime. You might want to throw me in that crowd. As Rihanna will take the stage. So you got that going on. It's a circus. It's an absolute circus. It's underway. And who do you like? What do you make of this matchup? And are you happy it's these two? Did you want to see a couple other teams in there? But how you feeling?
I am. I'll tell you what. I like the Eagles. I really like what they bring to the table. I think they're going to be a little bit healthier. I don't know what's going on with Travis Kelce. You know, Mahomes with the ankle, the high ankle sprain. I mean, having 2 weeks off, how much cortisone can you shoot up in that thing?
Let me jump
you ready
in right
to rock?
Here. You played football. I don't know if you ever had a high ankle sprain. I'm sure you had a sprain. I've tried to tell people over the years that a high ankle sprain is worse than a clean break. I'm not sure if that's 100% true. You would know. What is the deal, and how serious is a high ankle sprain? And in reality, how much time do you need to heal up to be back to yourself, with or without getting shot up?
I think there's not really a timetable that you can put on it. So it could take some guys 4 or 5 weeks. It could take some guys 8, 9, 10 weeks till they feel back to 100%. What I do know is when you have a high ankle sprain, you can take some supplements there to be able to mask it, and you're not going to do any more damage. Now, there's certain areas where if you shot cortisone into something, then you could go out there, knee being one, you could do more damage to your knee by masking that. You cannot do any more damage to that high ankle sprain by putting some cortisone in it. But some guys, they don't want to do cortisone in there. And I don't know, I've heard stories that Mahomes didn't want to take the shots in there because you want to know that pain level, and it kind of it talks to you a little bit.
So you're saying he did not take any before that last game?
I was told from somebody inside, a guy that I know that's in deep with the Kansas City Chiefs, that he went out there and he did not have any cortisone inside of that ankle, that he was playing with it to be able to feel the pain, to understand where he was at. And really, when your sensors get thrown off by masking something,
that makes it more dangerous, maybe.
It could. So
because a high ankle sprain,
he's a high performance athlete.
That's like tendon related, right?
Yes.
Stretched,
yes,
torn, what have you. Oh, I can't believe he went out there with it. I mean, you at least got to chew a half a bottle of Advil or something, don't you, before you go out there?
You know, and you always got Chad Henne sitting there back behind you.
I mean that is wild. Now, with this being 2 weeks off, and this being the mother of all games, the Super Bowl, any chance he says, all right, I don't have to worry about anything for another 6 months. I'm forget about training camp, forget about OTAs. I'm all in on the Super Bowl. Does he shoot a little in there so he can get through it and worry about whatever happens later?
If you know it's the last game of the season, I think you do.
I mean,
why
what
not?
else is there what are you saving for?
You know, why not? You know, but some guys have high pain tolerance. Some guys' threshold is different than others. I mean, you know, I could take a lot of pain, but you give me a hangnail, and I'm over here crying like a baby. You know, but you punch me in the side of the head, and I just look at you and smile. But I personally think that this Eagles team, the way they've been able to put some things together here defensively, I think they're built to be able to slow down Kansas City. And again, you know, Travis Kelce with the back, it didn't look like it bothered him too much last week or 2 weeks ago, but you know,
I forgot about Travis
Kelce. You know as well as I do. You've had it happen before. I've had it happen before. When your back is not feeling right and you're trying to get down into a stance and you're trying to explode off into a route or a block, and it is going to just nag and bother you. And I think that nobody's healthy at this time of the year. If you're still playing football in the NFL right now, nobody's healthy.
No.
But who can tolerate it? Who does the best recovery plan here over 2 weeks? You know,
whatever that plan is.
Yeah, exactly.
I imagine, you know, and Kelsey's been beat up a lot over his career.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's not an old fart by any chance, but he's not a young pup either. You know, you mentioned about, you know, there's the old saying, if your back ain't right, you ain't right. And mine was on a much, much smaller scale. I'm going back to my senior year in high school, and we had a pretty good year, and we were getting ready for the tournament. And you know, if you have a great regular season, you know your first couple tournament games you should handle your business. Well, we were we got Coventry, and we won 17-2 in our opening round tournament game at home. Now, a couple things that play into this. It was a rainy, drizzly day. Imagine that in Northeast Ohio for baseball. And we didn't have grass back then at Central. We just it was a skin infield. And I was the starting pitcher that day. And I knew we were going to win that game. Even if I gave up 5 or 6 runs, we were still going to win that game because we had monster hitters on that team. Mandarine and the late great Steve Udek and Brian Beck and Rick Tempsey and Robbie Leahy and Dan Mazur. I knew we were going to bury that team. So it was about the top of the second inning. I went out for my second inning of work, and the rain had picked up just a little bit. And I remember delivering a pitch, and I slipped off of the mound, off the rubber. And I didn't fall, but when I landed on my front foot after I delivered the pitch, I felt something in my back. And I said, son of a... I knew something was wrong. I'm like, hey, man, it's my senior year. It's only the second inning. And I finished up the game, and I remember the very next day I was in one of our great sponsors here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, Dr. Peter Ferguson. I was in his office the next day at 8 a.m. getting looked at, getting checked out, and doing treatment and therapy and this and that. And I was finally able to get back to being halfway back to normal for the rest of our tournament run. But you can't screw up with your back. You can't. There's everything is layered there. Twisting, turning, bending, jumping, waving, reaching, any quick movement, any slow movement, it's all related to your back. And if that's not right, you're gonna have a tough day. So I am really surprised. I'm really surprised that Patty Mahomes didn't take a shot, as far as we know, before that game last weekend against Cincinnati. And I know Travis Kelce, his back has been acting up as well. And we'll see how that kind of plays out. But Super Bowl coming up, Super Bowl 57, Glendale, Arizona. They'll wheel that brand new grass into that indoor stadium. And I think they go about 6:35 on Sunday, Philly and KC, and we'll see who gets the championship trophy.
It's really cool how they bring that turf in there too.
Yeah, it's just like on a big tray. They wheel it in, they grow it outside, and they wheel it in, and then they'll play on it, and they'll get rid of it, and they'll get a new tray of grass for whatever event they're hosting in there, and they'll bring that one in. It's kind of fascinating. Although I will say this, and I pay attention to this stuff more than some, which probably should worry me and everybody else. But if you watch a lot of the Arizona Cardinal games, or you watch a lot of the bowl games that they have out in Glendale, Arizona, that turf gets chewed up like nobody's business. I mean, chunks of turf all over the field, and divots and dirt and what have you. And I'm thinking, gosh, that can't be good for the players. That can't be good for a guy that is trying to go out there and bust a route down the field or chase the quarterback or come to a stop and keep his feet in on the sidelines to make a one-handed grab. That grass looks terrible. That turf looks terrible by like the middle of the game. So that might be something to watch out for on Super Bowl Sunday, how the turf holds up with those behemoths out there pounding on each other for 3.5 hours.
I mean, you mentioned it when you roll out something straight off of a tray here. What's settling underneath there? What's grabbing that root system? To, as you mentioned, behemoths and guys that have the fast twitch muscle, cutting off of the hash marks, moving inside, boom, and that thing just kind of gives away. It's not very safe from a player's standpoint. We actually in 2007 we played on the first national championship game inside of Glendale.
That's right.
And just a few days before that, you had the all-time great game between Oklahoma and Boise State. So it was at that point, I think it was still kind of a trial and error type deal, and they found out some different ways to try and do things in there. But when you're rolling things in, pulling things out, you're just never going to get a proper settle for something. So again, turf science has come light years.
Crazy, yeah.
Right?
That's something to keep an eye on. And I go back to, the situation with Pitt and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They share Heinz Field. Whatever they call it now, I'm not doing that. But Pitt will play there on a Saturday night, and the Steelers are in there at 1 o'clock the next day.
Right.
I mean, come on. You see that field. It's torn up. If anybody needs field turf, but the Rooney family says absolutely not. We will never put turf inside our football stadium, and they have it. Remember the old Three Rivers? They had that nasty AstroTurf.
Oh.
Okay? Then they went to their natural grass, and they haven't looked back. But there's been games I've watched on that field that the turf has been absolutely almost unplayable, but they refuse to change their ways there. All right, I'm not sure. We're going to spend maybe we got some time. I'm just going to come out and ask you point blank. TJ has no idea. And if you give me the wrong answer, I am going to come across this table. Did you watch anything Pro Bowl related over the weekend?
I did a little bit last night, and it made me want to throw up.
Oh, my God, you did.
Flag football for about 10 minutes. And my wife looked at me, and she said, "What is this?" And I said, well, this is kind of what they've gone to, and really it's kind of what it's been over the last couple of years already.
Reality, yeah.
Minus having no pads on, but they weren't hitting each other before anyway. So it was weird to me. But the one thing I did kind of like, which saw out here on some different social medias, was the catching competition, which almost kind of looked like the dunk competition in the NBA. See, they're trying to bring different elements into it. I understand, but as far as a competitive thing out there on the field, an actual Pro Bowl game, the one thing I saw, the part that I did actually tune into and waste my time with.
God love you.
And I'm drawing a blank on one of the guys' names. The receiver, again, no pads on, nothing, no helmet on. He lateraled to Tyreek Hill at the 1 yard line, and Tyreek Hill gets blasted, goes down on the ground. You're thinking, okay, there's like 20, 30, $40 million right there that's going down onto the ground with no pads on. So what if you get hurt in a game like that because you don't have pads on? I mean, to me, it seemed a little bit, it was more unsafe than what it has been in the past, because we know one thing. If you're not going 100%, you have a better chance of getting hurt.
Yep.
So these guys are out there, and you're lateraling the football at the 1 yard line, trying to make this play while you're going right towards the pylon. Tyreek gets smoked, and if I'm anybody inside of the Miami Dolphins organization, you're like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Right? You know, for me, just cancel it.
What are we doing?
Just don't do it.
What are we doing?
Do the strength competition with the big boys, something like that. Lift some weights, whatever. Make it like the old Atlas stones and stuff like that, where you're carrying around. But yeah, I don't really understand what we're doing there. But to that point too, I will mention here, as we're talking about some of the sports betting, for the house, maybe the house moms out there. So I haven't even recognized my wife over the last 2 weeks, because she was like, "Hey, let's watch this game on TV." I said, "What? You don't even really like sports?" "Oh, no. I got a DraftKings account." She goes, "And I put $5 on Robert Morris." And I'm like, "Wait a second. Who are you? Who are you?" Right?
Oh,
she is
welcome to the community.
She has never once wanted to sit down and watch a basketball game, and she put $15 on the Cavaliers last night. It was like, okay, you probably should have put about 40 or 50 on it after that bunt whooping they gave the Pacers. But I think you're getting a certain sector of the community that's like, you know what? Never done it before, never cared about sports before, but what's $5? Let's try it and see what's going on here. Because all you got to do, you bet $5, you get 200 in free bets back. So it's interesting.
In some sports books.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to, well, it's already grown out of, I don't want to say out of control, but I gave you the $8 billion tag on sports betting from the state of Ohio. When you have an investment in a game or an event, every play becomes the biggest play. In baseball, every pitch is the biggest pitch. In football, every snap, every run, every field goal is the biggest. In basketball, every free throw, every missed dunk, everything matters. In hockey, every missed opportunity to score on a power play matters. If you're betting the over or the under, every miss or make matters. And I'm just going on the broad things. I'm not talking about these prop bets and futures and same-game parlays and 5-leg parlays. I'm not even talking about that stuff, which you can get into and make yourself silly after a while. I'm just going on point spreads, winner, loser, totals, over, under, maybe some futures bets, who's going to win the division, who's going to win the Super Bowl, things like that. Every play matters. And when every play matters, you're going to watch or you're going to listen, because everything matters. You have a stake in what's going on. I have tried to tell folks for years, if it wasn't for, and I know gambling was just legal in the state of Ohio, please, as we mentioned before, it's been going on since Adam and Eve, okay? When you have a stake in something, you will watch and listen more intently than you ever have in your entire life, because the outcome is going to affect you where it's going to affect you financially. You're either going to win money or you're going to lose money, or in the instance where there's a push, you're not going to do anything. You may lose a couple of bucks with the VIG, okay? Everything matters. And people that have never watched sports in their life, now they have an investment they can make. You mean to tell me, so-and-so will say, if I put $20 down on this two-team parlay and it hits, I can get 95 back? Well, put me in, right? I mean, that's the American dream. Return on investment. return on your time invested. That's what it's all about. You're going to have people. You're going to have more females. You're going to have younger demographics. They're building all these sports bars, sports betting in NBA arenas. They're going to be in all the Major League Baseball parks in the next 15 to 20 years, all the NFL stadiums. You're going to be able to sit there at your seat. Next play is going to be a run. I bet you the next place is going to be an incomplete pass. I bet you he misses this 40-yard field goal. And everybody's going to get involved. Everything is going to matter. Everything is going to count. It is absolutely and truly fascinating where we are headed with this. And again, they always do with a little tagline, please gamble responsibly. Here's the number to call, blah, blah, blah. It is fascinating. I wish we had hours to dive into this. Down the road, we will. Because it is absolutely fascinating. Now, we talked about the Pro Bowl stuff, which needs to go away and never to come back again. I know the NFL is required. They have to fill time over the weekend on the various channels with programming. But for God's sake, please stop this. Please stop. And people that paid to go to this events, you're just as dumb as everybody else. Okay? You're as stupid as everybody else. You actually paid money to go watch that stuff in person. You're an idiot too. Now, what was worse over the weekend? The Pro Bowl activities or the Grammy Awards?
Oh, great.
You talk about an absolute freak show. The Grammy Awards is a freak show. And no, I didn't watch. But they have clips nowadays you can go back and watch on TMZ and your entertainment places on the web. And obviously you hear people talking about it. I didn't invest 1 second into watching the Grammys, but it was an absolute freak show. It was political. It was all the soft crap that's going on in our country today, all under one roof last night in Hollywood. Absolutely abomination.
I saw just a few little pieces that
he was watching that too. Boy, you were all no wonder I didn't hear from you last night. Pro Bowl, watching the Grammys.
Beyonce set the record for the Grammys, and I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, they kind of just gave it to her because the other ones she was going against for dance and electronic music, the other ones were way better, but they wanted to give it to her just so that she could set the record for all-time most Grammys. And then you get her husband.
Saying that something was fixed?
Yeah, fixed again. And then you get Jay-Z on. I popped onto this part, being the big fella that I am. I think you can appreciate this too. They had him up there with all the fellas up there, DJ Khaled and Kendrick Lamar and Fat Joe, and they got it's like the final feast, right? And they got all this food up there. In the back of my mind, I'm sitting there. It's about 11 o'clock at night, and I'm getting hungry. I'm thinking, I wonder what they're doing with all that food up there.
And then the big fella gets up and runs into the kitchen.
Opens
up the door, the cupboard, the pantry, the refrigerator. Then he's on the Grubhub app. He's getting, it's midnight now. It's time. Holy cow. All right, big fella. How much time do we have before we put a bow on this thing? I want to make sure we time it out right.
I'm going to let you wrap her up, and I'm going to go get set up here.
All right. Okay. So, we got Joe Bogdan coming up here from the big stage here at Tozzis on 12th. It's the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. I want to thank our sponsors, of course, McNeill and Sons Tree Service. They are located in the Portage Lakes, but they're right around the corner for you. Give them a call if you need anything, tree removal, stump, anything. They'll take care of you, and they'll do it right, and they'll treat you fair. 606-1126, that's McNeill and Sons Tree Service. Lindseys Pizza, our good friend, John Lindsay, over at the Hillsdale Shopping Center, 477-3800. Folks, get your Super Bowl orders in now. Don't wait. Get them in now. Call our good friend John at John Lindsay. Lindseys Pizza, they're open till 11 o'clock. Check them out, lindseys.pizza.com, but don't wait. Get your order in for your Super Bowl food today. FinallyHereOhio.com. Shout out to Christopher McCready's and his wonderful staff of over 30 years of experience helping you hear better. FinallyHereOhio.com. That's FinallyHereOhio.com. By the Eagles 190 in downtown Massillon, 303 Wyrick Boulevard in Tigertown. Great sponsors, great partners, great friends of the family here at Stark Media. That's the Eagles 190. By the Hilscher-Clarke Electric Company, located all over Ohio. Their corporate office is right downtown, 519 4th Street Northwest in Canton. Hilscher-Clarke.com. Hilscher-Clarke.com. More than 100 years of experience in the industrial, commercial, residential, and specialty markets. Nobody does it better. Hilscher-Clarke Electric Company.com. C.H. Vallos and Associates. Shout out to our guy Chris over there on Main Street, North Canton at 1302. All your insurance needs. Home, life, auto, financial, whatever it is. Nobody does it better. Nobody's more family friendly than C.H. Vallos and Associates, serving the North Canton community for over 75 years. All right, that's going to wrap here. We will be back on the other side. We will talk to Joe Bogdan after he is done at the podium. But for now, signing off here from Tozzis on 12th on the Stark Media YouTube channel.
The Fraternal Order of Eagles number 190 in Massillon wants you. Stop down to the Massillon ARE at 303 Wyrick Boulevard Northwest. And like our over 1,800 members experience daily, your Eagles membership will give you access to great food and drink specials. Having a party? Host it in our banquet facility and seat up to 400 people. When you're coming through downtown Massillon, stop by the Eagles and sign up. And for a small fee, you'll have access and be a part of a fraternity that donates over $100,000 a year to local charities. The Fraternal Order of Eagles ARE number 190 in downtown Massillon. Stop by or call us today at 330-832-7385. This is TJ Downing for Stark Media 99.7 FM and the free iHeartRadio app. And I want to talk to you today about our friends at Hilscher-Clarke. They are a local Stark County electrical contractor with more than 100 years of experience in the industrial, commercial, residential, and specialty markets. They have offices throughout Ohio, but have the capability to handle out-of-state work as well. They are one of the rare electrical contractors that perform a range of services from testing and data to design and engineering, functions typically handled by subcontractors. At their core, Hilscher-Clarke lives to do first things first. Faith, integrity, respect, selfless, and team. These core values aren't just words. They define who we are and how we conduct ourselves every day. For the best in electrical contracting services, contact our friends at Hilscher-Clarke today by going to www.hilscher-clarke.com. That's HILSCHER-CLARKE.com. Or stop down and see them at 519 4th Street Northwest in downtown Canton, or you can call them today at 234-571-2699.
At C.H. Vallos and Associates, we've been proudly serving the greater Stark County community for over 78 years. Locally owned, we cover your home, auto, business, and life insurance along with your group benefits. Our partnership with auto owners has allowed us to span not only Ohio, but throughout the entire country. Did you know that Auto Owners, an A++ rated company by AM Best and a Fortune 500 company, has ranked C.H. Vallos and Associates a top 10 insurance agency in the state of Ohio? From your basic home and auto needs to insuring some of the largest companies in America, there's a reason people choose C.H. Vallos and Associates and Auto Owners. Our dedication and passion for our clients and their coverage is part of our commitment to excellence. For all your insurance coverage needs, there's only one call to make, and that's C.H. Vallos and Associates, located at 1302 South Main Street in North Canton. Contact us at 330-494-2776 today and see the difference in customer satisfaction.
All right, ready to roll here. Back at Tozzis on the Stark Media YouTube channel. And we've had a great time here today. We had a little 45, 50-minute talk before Joe B. took the podium today and did a great job with not only his speech, but the always dramatic Q&A by our friends here at the club today. We had a nice crowd here and got a lot of stuff going on in Kansas City, of course. You know, some of the stuff that you see and you talk about every day, and some of the stuff maybe that you really don't know about or don't get a chance to hear things about, and some good stuff. A lot of things going on. We're going to be joined by Mike Schott here coming up, and of course Joe Bogdan's going to join us as well. Go ahead, Mike. We'll have you put those that 1977 headset on around your head and join us here in a little discussion. And we'll grab Joe when he comes over as well. So I'm always intrigued. That's why I wanted to be here again today, to kind of get the scoop on everything that goes on at Canton City Schools, whether it's the academic part, the athletic, the facilities. There's so much stuff going on. You're kind of on the front line here, and man, it's a busy time, isn't it, all the way around?
It sure is. It's it's a total team effort by everybody involved. And like Joe said earlier today when he was speaking to the group, it's about basically the passion and the caring of not only Canton City Schools, but our athletic departments and all of our teams and our athletes, and just trying to provide a great experience for all of our kids and preparing them for obviously the biggest game of life.
Game of life. And
yes,
they teach you. I learned at a young age. I'm sure you did too, whether it was through parents or other coaches or teachers, but sports teaches you a lot about life, and football was kind of like always the gold standard. Football will teach you the most about life, but I think as we move on through here, Mike, we find out that baseball can teach you a lot about life, lacrosse can teach you, golf can. It's all. And one of the things that I want to talk about, Joe, when he comes over, and I want to make this kind of a group thing. And I wrote this down. We do need to learn how to teach our kids how to fail. And how to learn from that. What's the old thing? You get knocked down, you got to get your butt up off the ground, and you got to go do it again. And I think you guys are starting to kind of put the seeds, put things into motion here to where at an early age they're going to find out, maybe I want to play a little golf. Maybe I want to do a little lacrosse. I want to swim. I want to run track. I want to play football. And maybe things don't go well for me all the time, but I'm going to learn a hard life lesson maybe. And that's going to make me better down the road for being a better parent, being a better associate, being a better coworker, maybe being a better owner or somebody in an administrative post. You have to learn how to get over your failure, and I think that was really important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that, like Joe mentioned, and it's something that we talk with our coaches about all the time, in their development of our student athletes, and it's something to be said because, unfortunately, but fortunately, because being biased, being from an athletics background,
sure.
But that's the biggest. There's just so many characteristics that are provided to you by playing, whether it be high school athletics, and so therefore, it's a matter of. Just trying to put all of our kids, into quality programs that are going to do that.
Yeah. And you guys you're going to be putting the kids in great positions here a little bit earlier, a little bit younger. Great facilities. You already have great teachers. You have great coaches. You have great people that want to volunteer their time, and that's all part of the city of Canton / Stark County, the feel, I'll call it, because again, Joe made a great point at the podium today. It's not like this everywhere else. I don't care if it's New York, Montana, Miami, L.A., Georgia, little podunk town in Pennsylvania. It's not like this everywhere else, and you got to go in with your kids and everything you got going on here. And I think that was a great thing that was delivered at the podium today. Joe Bogdan, we're finally able to wrestle him away from all the autograph hounds here at the Tozzis on 12th. It's amazing. You come in. You're at the head table, you have your lunch, you do the prayer, do the thing, and then you do your talk for 30 minutes or so. You get the Q&A, and then the real onslaught comes. Then they all want to come up to the podium. They want to have a piece of what's going on. But, hey, great job today. Was talking to Mike about a couple of things I kind of wrote down and we kind of want to get into. But the whole teaching our kids how to fail and to bounce back and to learn from that. And I think that is so, especially with how the world is now, there just seems to be a lot of stuff just given, and there's not a lot of stuff earned, so to speak. Could you kind of go into detail on that, how important that is for kids to learn these life lessons early, and then they can have the world,
I do think it's the most important thing that we do is teaching kids how to deal with adversity. And some of our kids come to us, especially in Canton City Schools, already had to deal with a lot of adversity. And we like to teach them that how they then react to that is going to create their future. And anytime that sports offers that opportunity, as I said up there, there's no consequences for failing. They're going to be okay. They're not in danger. There's no financial repercussions to them or their families. And if they can learn how to handle that with character, dignity, and class, then they're going to be all the better for it.
Yeah, we're not. I loved your point about we're not winning any big things in the third grade for a championship of a travel team, and trying to keep the kids here, just not only in the district, Joe, but keep them in the you're gonna have facilities for them now. And I was talking to Mike about you already have great teachers and motivators and educators, and volunteer base is so strong around here. The sooner you can get to them at that age with the facilities, and not only is it fun, but they're going to get a lot more out of it down the road. And, hey, who knows? Maybe somebody who maybe at 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, they think, hey, I'm going to dominate sport X. You know what? Maybe by the time they're 13 or 14, they're on their way to doing something completely different, and they love what they're doing.
Yeah, we all know kids who were good at one thing or not good at anything in 6th grade, and it was completely different when they were in 11th grade. And so you don't know when you're going to sprout. You don't know when you're going to develop the skills. You don't know what your passion is going to be. So we want to give as many opportunities as we can. And everything I said up there applies to Canton City Schools specifically, but it applies to every school district in Ohio in general. And if you look at the most well-functioning communities support their kids, and whether that's school finance or opportunity or anything. And so that's what we want to do. And there's a lot of, our friends to the west, we like to talk about how different we are than each other, but one thing that's the same is we both want to support our kids. We want to give them every advantage that we can, and we're not going to make excuses or apologies for trying to be good at everything.
Yeah, completely agree. We're on the Stark Media YouTube channel, Sam Bourquin. We got Mike Schott and, of course, Joe Bogdan from Kansas City Schools, Camp McKinley. You talk about opportunities for kids. We're talking about athletics. We're talking about academics. We're talking about, hey, if somebody needs an ear before a practice or they need a ride home after a game, you guys are providing that at a very high level for everybody. And you talked about your experiences, the ladder to get from there to where you are now. Would you say that almost perfectly got you ready to handle the situation now, the job that you have now with Kansas City Schools, all your steps along the way?
All of our experiences form who we are for everybody. And to be able to be around so many, I only mentioned a few up there, but so many wonderful people that I've been lucky enough to be around that talk to me about things and things that might happen and their opinions. And I was semi-smart enough to listen most of the time. And that helps to form your ideas of what you think will work. So all of this stuff with the brand new indoor facility and all the programming that I have circling around my head and in our coaches' heads, it's a conversation that I started 25 years ago with Dan Patterson and Jason Hall in the coach's office at East Canton. And we're like, how do we take football, basketball, and baseball, and what if we could do anything, what would it be? And we pretty much drew up this exact same plan. But at East Canton, we didn't have the finances to do that. It was never going to happen. At Lake, we had the same kind of conversations, and we were close to being able to try to do some fundraising on things, and then there was COVID, and so now here I am at Canton City, where when I walk into the interview, they'd start talking about, hey, we have some kinds of ideas about maybe doing this, maybe doing that. What do you think we need? And I say, well, you need. My idea at the time was you need 60 yards of turf, and then we can use it for football, soccer, we can do baseball, and this and that and the other. And they go, well, what about a 200-meter track? And I said, well, that sounds great, too. We're going to do that instead. They're like, well, let's do both. And then you have to be excited about what's going on.
For you guys, coming over to Canton City here, I guess relatively close timing. Mike coming over from Alliance, Joe making your rounds over from Lake. You guys kind of came into the situation. And what is anything kind of opened to both of you, your eyes of what has gone on, what is present, what is going to be in the future, and how you try to tackle those things and work together and create more relationships and revenue and different things like that moving forward?
Well, I would say, obviously the team that's in place from the administration down and then going into the athletic department and all the folks we have working with us. And like I said earlier, trying to provide the opportunities for all of our kids. But I think the biggest thing is, too, not only with our kids being able to take advantage of these facilities that we're talking about, is a matter of also that we're trying to not only, like Joe said earlier, we want to be good, obviously, in football. We want to be good in basketball and boys and girls basketball. But we want to become a well-rounded athletic department. We want to become, we want all of our programs to be able to reach the top level. And in order to do that, it takes a teamwork. It takes a lot of teamwork with everybody involved to make it a high priority for all of us.
Yeah, and I know that it might be a little bit tough to talk about, but McKinley has struggled outside of some of the other the big sports that are going on. And I think this is a way that, obviously, golf, we always had a strong swim program, but the golf, and I don't know if lacrosse is coming down the road or whatever, but soccer and different things like that, you guys are going to be able to not only field competitive teams, but hey, let's try to go 500 or whatever. Let's go try to win Let's go try to win a league championship. Let's go try to. And I think this is maybe one of those baby steps that we're starting here, right?
No, I agree. And success is important for kids. I'm more process oriented. If we're doing all the things the right way, then those things are going to happen. In our kids' defense, we are in the really, really good league for all of those other sports. We set the standard in football and basketball. We just have. But we used to set the standard in volleyball, and gone away from that. There's great volleyball in the Federal League, and the things I talked about, getting people playing earlier, closes that gap, because one of the things that drew me to this plan was when I was at Lake, I walked down the hallway, and we were playing one of the layman volleyball teams, and we were about to win 25-3, and that offended me from being from Canton City. I'm like, how can that be? They just won a state title 30 years ago. Yeah. And then when you see how our kids progress from freshmen to seniors, they turn into pretty good volleyball players. Well, we need to push that back because everybody else is starting in third grade.
Right.
So if we start at the right time, we don't have a talent gap. We have a training gap, and that's what we want to close, and then our kids will be able to shine.
As we segue into that, and for the folks that weren't with us on your live talk today, Fieldhouse improvements, outstanding. Natatorium, an absolute jewel. What you're doing down at Munson, a lot of things going on with the downtown campus. Could you, maybe in a nutshell, kind of let people know what is going on with all of these places and facilities in the future plans, and how cool it is for everybody involved now, and it's only going to get better?
Yeah, so the natatorium is done with a renovation actually before I got here, and everything over there is top-notch and beautiful. And the field house is in the middle of it right now. We've air-conditioned it, so we're not going to have any more days when it's just too hot in there or too slippery. And we're painting everywhere. The lower bowl is being painted right now. The upper bowl was painted when we put in the air conditioning. We redid all the locker rooms. So it's basically going to be a brand-new facility. And it's going to continue to be the jewel that it is. Munson is completely revamped, and with the city of Canton, over $5 million, have 2 full fields, clubhouse, indoor facilities. Again, our facilities rival almost any college in the country. We take out the Power 5 schools. I actually went to Georgia with my daughter for visiting something else, but I talked my way into the new football building. And the guy took me around, and everything I saw, we have that in our football building. We just have less or smaller. So we've had a lot of people before I got here put a lot of good thought into what our kids need to have to be successful. And we're lucky enough to be in a place that supports it, and we'll have that. And if we get the new indoor facility finalized downtown with a 200-meter track field house and 60 yards of football turf in there, we're going to be able to take care of all of our programs, both in season, out of season, and create opportunities at a low cost for our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders.
Yeah, that's so important. And I'll tell you what, I also got excited. You talked about more use of the field house, and you're going to maybe put a college line in there. You got the 24-second clock thing. Fantastic to get an OAC conference tournament or the Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Walsh Malone, that's a high level of basketball. Mount Union, last time I checked, is number 4 in the country in Division III coming out of the OAC, and you get the teams right up the road from John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace. Man, what a great thing that would be if you're able to pull that off, right?
Yeah, and that's my hope, is that people can see what a great facility it is, and we have it available, and get some of those events in there. Again, it's good for us, and I think it's good for those leagues because they're such – people don't understand how good basketball is in the OAC. If you go to John Carroll and Mount Union game, last week, then you would have a whole different
out.
opinion of what Division III basketball is really like.
Yeah, it's top notch. Guys, anything, I know there's so many things going on and so many things in the works, and you guys are constantly having meetings and you're getting together and spitballing and throwing stuff up on the board. 3-5 year plan, anything that you might like? I know you had a little dream maybe with the golf facility maybe down in Munson. You got some, I know you're always got great ideas. Anything that's maybe you think, maybe we don't want to try that, but hey, let's throw it out there. There's got to be something.
My 5-year plan is to have Mike be sitting where I am.
And I knew that was coming.
And me be sitting out in the crowd.
You're out in the crowd.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
But that's
already waiting for his sleeping pills. Right?
That's not my wife's 5-year plan, so maybe we'll both still be around. But we just want to we both came there because we saw opportunity, and we are in line with the leadership. I never would have left Lake, or being around Kevin Tobin is an absolute joy, and all the people that I worked with there. Mm-hmm. But I came because I shared a vision with the leadership that's already here, and I saw opportunity to do that. And once we have that great leadership, then we're just trying to build out that team as best we can. Antonio was already there, who I have the greatest respect for. It's great to work with. And then we were able to bring Mike, which I was just overjoyed because now there's 2 of us in the office, and we both understand when something goes wrong.
Right.
We know what's going on, and we don't have to say, are we crazy? Because everybody else thinks we shouldn't be doing this, but I know we should. And so just being around other people who have done the job, and to have Kim and Nancy and Lisa Owens, our whole team is just really able to get a lot of things done. It's a joy to be at work every day.
Yeah, it takes a team, doesn't it?
It
certainly takes a team. Well, guys, thanks for coming over. I know you're busy getting back to school. Great job, Joe, at the podium as always. Very informative, very entertaining, and we'll talk to you guys soon. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam.
Yep,
There
thank
you go. Mike Schott, Joe Bogdan from Canton City Schools, and a lot of exciting things going on, not only over at the hub, the epicenter where everything is happening, but some cool things going on downtown. Tournament time is coming up for basketball. Spring sports are going to be fired up here soon, and there's a lot of great things going on. So we certainly appreciate those 2 gentlemen joining us here today at Tozzis on the 12th. That's going to wrap things up here for right now. We really appreciate it. Joining us here on the Stark Media YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay with us here.
You came to Stark Media for the best? Well, now you got it. Check out Lindseys Pizza on 2827 Whipple Avenue Northwest inside of the Hillsdale Shopping Center. The preferred post-game pizza of the Stark Media team is open until 11 p.m., and it has all the essentials for game day. Pizza, chicken, salads, and sandwiches are just a click away at lindseyspizza.com. But you should trust the former Ohio State All-American and just call them right now at 330-477-3800. 477-3800. This is TJ Downing for Lindseys Pizza, and I approve this message.
McNeill and Sons Tree Service serves the greater Northeast Ohio area by keeping your property clear all year round. Do you have trees that have stretched too close to your home? A rotted tree that has to go? Or perhaps even storm damage? No job is too big or small for McNeill and Sons. We specialize in large tree removal, storm damage, stump grinding, land clearing, and more. McNeill and Sons Tree Service is fully licensed and insured, so contact us today at 330-606-1126 for all your tree care needs. Or visit us online at McNeillTree.com to schedule your free quote. The professionals at McNeill & Sons can inform you of your tree health and give you a risk assessment to keep your family protected. So call today, 330-606-1126. McNeill & Sons Tree Service, a company you can depend on with family you can trust.